Hey, this is Gary with Black Diamond Games. I wanted to talk about the $100 board game, and I've written a blog post about the $100 board game. It's kind of a metaphor for all of your expenses of the business. And when I did the blog post, I was able to do it very granular down to every single expenses, taxes, electricity, whatever. But for this, I just wanted to show visually kind of how that works and some thoughts on how you can become more profitable. So a $100 board game, the cost of goods is 55%, we'll say that. And every one of these dice is like $5, right? So first thing you do is you take out your cost of goods, which is that right there plus that 5%, 55%. And then you've got essentially three buckets is what I call it. And that's from the restaurant industry. But I'll explain the three buckets for the game store, right? So you've got a bucket for rent, which is about a third of your expenses after cost of goods. You've got a bucket for wages, again another third, and you've got a bucket for other, which includes marketing and electricity and all the office supplies, 100 different office supplies you use. So each of these are your three buckets. They're relatively equal. They might switch around a little bit. You might switch them around a little bit as you grow, as you change your operation. So for a long time, our rent was low, wages were high. We've seen rent high, wages low. So it can move around. It's not identical. So if you do your expenses after cost of goods and it's not equal, then that's why it's never really equal. But there are the three buckets. And then sitting over here by itself, lonely, is profit. So most game stores do about 5% profit, really 5 to 10%, but we'll assume 5% profit. So you've got this set up. This is the profit from the $100 board game, 5% or $5, right? So game stores aren't making a lot of net profit on games in general. It's very thin margins. How can you fix this? Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can really work on your margins. There's not a lot of work you can do on margins. You would mostly do that by focusing on one distributor, so you have the max tier of distribution. The difference between the lowest tier and the highest tier could be 4 to 5%. So you could do this. You could move this over there if you were very conscientious. Some stores are never going to get to move that because they're never going to do the volume to hit the high sales levels they need to get the highest discount. So that's not going to work. You could move wages. I think our wages are too low. I think we've done this. We've taken our wage bucket, and we've kind of moved it over to profitability and gone very thin on our wages, which is bad because that hurts your gross sales. And everybody wants higher gross sales. But there's something to be said for being a super thin operation. If you buy your building, let's call this your rent bucket. You could probably shift half a cube of dice into profitability if you were to buy a building. But depends where you are. It could be a slam dunk in Heartland America. But this is a $1 million building if it was standing alone, which it isn't. That's a $100,000 down payment. Most people don't have a $100,000 down payment. If I had $100,000, I'd probably start a second store. I already did the expansion for 133, so I might as well start a second store. And then, I'm managing a $1 million building. My new business is essentially property management now. I've got a property management building company on the side just for managing this. So that might not be where I want to get my profit out of this. Not much you can do there. There's some variability, but if you try to smash on your other, you can save a few $100 a month, but probably not a huge ton of cash. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. If you want to discount, what are you doing if you're discounting? Well, you're really increasing your cost of goods. You're going to have that come out of somewhere. It's going to come out of your profitability to start, and then you're going to be looking for cheaper rent. Maybe, I'm not going to say you can't discount across the board, but maybe you have cheap rent. Maybe you can. I'm not going to say it's not possible. Maybe you're going to work 60 hours. Maybe you're going to work 60 hours a week. So there you have it. All right, thanks.